The story of a child who was removed from her Christian mother and placed with Muslim foster carers recently gained significant media attention. The government say interracial and interfaith fostering should be a last resort, but for some councils, it's a choice between leaving a child in a care home or moving them to a different family. We've been to meet some of those families.
I was talking to one of my friends on Facebook and he was like, so where are you living? I was like, with my family, and he was like, you're living with terrorists? I was like, excuse me.
First family I lived with was they were an Indian family, and they were Muslim as well. It was just a massive culture shock because my mum's white.
Over 72,000 children in the UK are in care. According to latest figures, over 53,000 of these are fostered. We've come to Nottingham to meet an interracial foster family. The carers, Shahnaz and Mohammed, are Pakistani Muslim. They look after 18-year-old Rebecca, who's white British and doesn't hold a religious faith. Rebecca was fostered by the Arshad family 6 years ago when she was 12. Having just turned 18, she's now a care leaver but continues to live with the family under an arrangement called Staying Put. Legislation that allows care leavers to stay with their foster parents if both parties agree to it.
We're looking after one Afghani boy, one African girl from Kenya. Rebecca has just moved up out of the foster care. Now she's care leaver, but she's staying with us under Staying Put.
Rebecca, why have you chosen to stay with this family?
I'm literally a part of the family. If I had left, I wouldn't have anyone else to call family.
What does this family mean to you?
Everything. Literally everything.
Rebecca can tell you she considered us as her family and she wants to continue to stay with us the rest of her life.
You are obviously white British.
Yeah.
And you're not a Muslim. Were there any cultural challenges moving into this home?
I'm not a spicy person, so a lot of the food, they have to make it so mild. So obviously they make separate dishes. Religion-wise, obviously there's certain things you need to know about it, like you can't walk in front of someone if they're praying. I didn't know that when I first came in, but obviously you told me. At my old foster carers, we used to go away a lot, so I was kind of used to adapting to different cultures from different countries. Actually living in it on a regular basis, I think, was kind of a hard bit. Mum and Dad pray.
You call them Mum and Dad?
Yeah, I've always called them Mum and Dad.
Yeah.
After 3 months, she started to call us Mum and Dad. She says, "Can I stay, please?"
Oh.
We feel like she's our daughter. Yeah.
I have children from my previous marriage. He's got children from his previous marriage. And she is our child.
Have you ever wanted to see Rebecca become a Muslim?
We've discussed it with us, how would you feel? But we never imposed saying, Rebecca, you should become Muslim because you're in our household. Rebecca got her own identity. Rebecca is going to be Rebecca. And it's like the clothes, the dress, the food, the religion is significant to individual choice. We celebrate every culture, religion in this household, and we also celebrate Christmas because number one, it's a holiday, all the family gets together, it's festival time, it's everywhere. But when Rebecca came along, the first Christmas she had with us, we bought a Christmas tree, which we haven't done that before, because I asked Rebecca, do you want a Christmas tree? She goes, oh, don't buy a real one, just get me a little artificial one. And she wanted a pink one. I think the principle of fostering, and which makes a success, is not because you put two together because the same religion people could have problem as well. If you're a foster carer, you got to have within you the nurture nature. You got to look after this child, regardless of case, race, religion, that comes secondary. First is you got to love that child, you got to protect them, you got to make them safe, secure.
Do you think that Muslim foster carers are stigmatised in our society?
They are, because if the girl goes in a Muslim household, she's going to forget her identity, she's going to forget her religion, she's going to forget her culture, she's going to wear a hijab when she walks out. People normally stereotype that. A lot of white people question that. Oh, is she going to become one of you? Is she going to have an arranged marriage? Is she going to do this? I says no. She is a child with her own identity. We are her parents. That does not mean we control her life.
When I first went to Pakistan, I was talking to one of my friends on Facebook, and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was just like, "Oh, I'm on holiday." And he was like, "Where are you?" I was like, "Pakistan." He was like, "So where are you living?" I was like, "With my family." And he was like, "You're living with terrorists?" I was like, "Excuse me." When I tell them, like, "Oh yeah, I'm in a Muslim family," they'll start making sudden
Assumptions.
assumptions. Like, they haven't said it to me directly, but they've like said it behind my back, like, "Oh, I bet her parents have got like explosives or bombs or whatever in their house." And I'm just like, I live there. Like, in my spare time, I don't learn how to make a bomb. I live in a family as any other person would.
It makes us feel hurt sometimes, because we're trying to give this child the best care of the world.
The government doesn't have figures on how many interracial placements exist. We do know, however, that last year saw a rise in the number of children in care from ethnic minority backgrounds. And whilst it's estimated that 3,000 Muslim children are put into foster care every year, only a quarter of long-term foster carers are from an ethnic minority.
We understand what God wants us to do. We understand who God is and how he feels about us.
Krish Kendaya is a Christian theologian who has fostered children from a broad range of religious and cultural backgrounds. He currently has 3 foster children.
Lord, we pray that you'd open our eyes to those that are in need around us every day. We started fostering 11 years ago. We had 3 birth kids already, and to be honest, I was a little bit reticent about getting started. Just reading the Bible, it has so much to say about God's concern for vulnerable people. And in our society, kids in care have often come from very vulnerable contexts.
If your religious faith is a key motivator for you being a foster carer, how do you then not enforce your faith on the foster kids that you look after?
The important thing for me as a foster parent, and we've looked after children who have Christian faith, some have no faith, some came from Muslim backgrounds. I guess as a principle of reciprocity, I'd like to think if my children had to be in care for some reason, their faith would be respected, and they would be allowed to go to church, they'd be allowed to read the Bible or pray as they saw fit. And so when kids come into my care, I want to offer that same kind of care to the parents and the children that are in my care. So when Muslim children have come into my household, I've asked through the social workers, what does being Muslim mean for you? How should we honour that? How can we show hospitality for that? So sometimes that's meant we've had halal food, or sometimes it's meant we've been vegetarians because we couldn't get hold of the food that would be halal. Sometimes that meant making a Quran available to a child, or offering to take them to a mosque. So I would hope that what I do for these children would be the same as what someone would do for my kids in a similar circumstance. One time, 4 children came in a police van at 2 a.m. in the morning, and 2 lovely police officers came and kind of helped them get into our house, and we knew immediately that they were from a Muslim background because the little girl had a head covering.
Did you at all feel ill-equipped to meet the religious, the cultural needs of those children?
At that moment in my lounge at 2 a.m. in the morning, these children just need to know they're safe and secure. We want to offer them some hospitality. We got milk and cookies coming, and that's the most important thing. And then we had a little bit of time until the next morning to kind of figure out, well, okay, what does this mean? How do we make this work?
I'm sure you've come across recent headlines about the Christian girl in Tower Hamlets who was put in the care of Muslim foster parents. How do you think that story has informed the public's view of interracial and interfaith foster care?
I think it's had quite negative ramifications. I have met fantastic Muslim foster carers who have made space for Christian children or Muslim children.
Despite the rise in the number of children in care from ethnic minority backgrounds, latest figures show that 84% of long-term foster carers are white British.
I just think we need to do better at making all types of carers welcome into the system. And we do need more Muslim carers. We do need people from more black and minority ethnic backgrounds. We need more Christians. There is a deficit of foster carers across the UK.
What does it take to make an interracial foster placement work?
You just need to think your way into their shoes, try and empathise as best you can, try and imagine what this trauma feels like, and then find a way to kind of meet that. I think if foster carers were able to receive more training on becoming faith literate, I think that would be a great gift.
Jerome is a 26-year-old care leaver who was put in care at the age of 4 and recalls the strong cultural barriers in his first foster home.
The first family I lived with was they were an Indian family and they were Muslim as well. And it was just a massive culture shock because my mum's white and they were Asian, and it was like, okay, what's going on here in a sense. So the first thing that stood out for me really was the food. We didn't like the food because we didn't recognise it. So we were used to what my mum used to cook, like corned beef and rice, you know, your English breakfast and things like that, and that just disappeared. They would cook like what they call biryani, which is rice with chicken and things like that, chapatis, and this different curries and things like that. But the stuff that I didn't recognise it, so we didn't eat it. But eventually, over time, there was little things we ate, but they kind of forced us to eat it, basically. And so it got to the point where they would just give us jam sandwiches. To be fair, they lost us. You know, your carer's job is to help to find you, but they actually lost us as kids because they weren't interested in who we was before we got there. So
they didn't take time to understand your background, your cultural identity?
Not at all. Not at all. If anything, they damaged us further because they didn't want to understand. So one, they didn't want us to understand who we was, but at the same time, they also excluded us from who they were. We would watch them pray, but not really understand why they're doing it or what it is, and just copy. We would model it and copy, but we didn't understand any of the process. We weren't brought into their family unit. They weren't given the right training to understand that, you know, children come with an identity, and your job is to help them to understand who they are, but also you can introduce them to your cultural identity. And the way we were treated, we were like second-class citizens. I mean, I used to cry myself to sleep and always wished to be away from there.
The Foster Network, a leading charity in foster care, says that thousands more carers are needed each year from all sectors of society, and despite Jerome's experience, they recognise the need for more Muslim foster parents. They have recently launched a project to recruit more of them.
Have a conversation with him. So,
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
बैके कैसी हो?
मैं ठीक हूँ, आप कैसे हो?
मैं भी ठीक हूँ।
Amici, who says that?
Yeah. Same like his,
Not me, I don't know what you're
our
talking
children
about.
is talk like Papa Ji.
And what would you say to people who have a negative view of Muslim foster parents?
Basically, it's like, don't judge a book by its cover. You can't believe everything that's on the news or what's been told about Islam. You actually have to, I don't know what the word is for it, you actually have to be there and understand it.